Hi, thank you so much for joining us today for the recertification review. Just some housekeeping pieces of details. You guys are welcome to have your computer screens on. And you're welcome to have, I'm sorry, your pictures on. And you're welcome to unmute as we're walking through the questions. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. First thing I want to let you know is that the exam questionnaire that I sent to you in email is set up as it is. However, when you take the exam itself, the exam questions will be shuffled at random, as will the answers as they're listed under the questions. So just make sure you're double checking and cross-referencing your stuff as you're going through. So the first question is, when can a person join a Medicare Advantage plan? The answers can be during the open enrollment period, when they are first eligible for Medicare, during special enrollment periods, or D, all of the above. The answer is D. All of the answers are correct. And that is because you can enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan in the fall and have it established January 1st. You also can enroll in it when you're first eligible for Medicare, of course. And you also can enroll in it during special enrollment periods if you qualify for any. All right, question 2. When is the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period? So specifically the Medicare Advantage OEP. That answer is B as in boy. That's January 1st through March 31st each year. Again, while you can make enrollment changes into a Medicare Advantage plan October 15th through December 7th each year, that is not considered just the MA open enrollment period. That is just considered the general open enrollment period or annual election period. January 1st through March 31st is specifically for those that have Medicare Advantage plans in place January 1st. Third question, what changes can a beneficiary make during the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period? Can they switch from original Medicare to a Medicare Advantage plan, switch standalone Part D plans, switch from a Medicare Advantage plan to original Medicare, or switch from a Medicare Advantage plan to another Medicare Advantage plan or original Medicare? The answer is D. While C is technically correct, they can switch from a Medicare Advantage plan to original Medicare. It's not the best answer. The best answer includes the fact that they can change into a different Medicare Advantage plan as well if they'd like. So the answer to number 3 is D. Number 4, which of the following is not a way to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan? Calling Social Security, filling out the plan's paper application and mailing it back to the plan, online at medicare.gov, or calling the plan and enrolling over the phone. The answer is A, calling Social Security. We wouldn't call Social Security to do an enrollment or even an enrollment change. We would contact Social Security only for purposes of enrolling into Medicare in general. So the answer would be A, calling Social Security, because we are looking as to what not to do enrolling into a Medicare Advantage plan. All right, 5th question, which is not a type of Medicare Advantage plan? Medicare Special Needs plans, Medicare Skilled Nursing Facility plans, Medicare Private Fee-for-Service plans, or Medicare Health Maintenance Organization plans? The answer is B as in boy, Medicare Skilled Nursing Facility plans. That's not a plan option. Medicare Advantage plans come in special need form, so it's either going to be an institutionalized special needs plan, a chronic needs special needs plan, or a dual needs special needs plan. Or you would have a private fee for service. Those are typically for folks who don't really need that drug coverage. That's typically are some of those individuals because they have creditable drug coverage through the VA, and or an HMO, that's the Health Maintenance Organization plan, or they would have a PPO, which is a better option, less gatekeeping and opportunities for some of what we're going to find out on that next question. So the next question is Frank. Frank has narrowed his Medicare enrollment choices down to a Medicare Advantage PPO. As a SHIP counselor, which of the following things should we tell Frank about PPOs? Should we tell him that Frank's provider can decide on a visit-by-visit basis whether or not to accept the plan? Should Frank maybe want to know that he could see somebody out of network, but that he might pay more for his care? Frank must see providers that are in network or the plan won't pay. Not necessarily. Or D, Frank will be assigned a care coordinator to help manage his care. That's not necessary or necessarily the case either for Frank. With a PPO, Frank can see out of network providers, but he may have to pay more for his care. So the answer is B as in boy. Providers aren't really actually allowed to decide visit by visit whether they want to accept the plan. They have to sign a contractual agreement with these companies. That is typically why when folks have deductibles, even though the doctor might submit a bill for a substantial amount, they're really only paying a portion because they're paying the contractually agreed upon amount with that insurance company. Seeing providers in network or the plan won't pay, not necessarily a thing. PPOs offer those out of network benefits, whereas HMOs do not. HMOs require you to see providers in network. And being assigned a care coordinator is not necessarily a thing either. Those are typically for individuals who have higher levels of care needed, and even also qualify for some of those special needs plans. That's where you're really going to see most of those care coordinators. All right, next question. Which is true about Medicare Advantage plans and how they work? Do they individually, does the individual have to see certain providers or go to certain hospitals to get care? Potentially. Although the individual may get all Medicare covered services through their MA plan, benefits and cost sharing will be different from original Medicare. Yeah. Some MA plans pay all or part of the beneficiary's Part B premium, but in most cases, the individual still needs to pay the Part B premium. Yes, there are some plans that are doing some of those things. Or D, all of the answer choices are correct. D. All of those are correct. Yeah, there are some MA plans will have to see certain providers or go to certain hospitals because they're typically HMOs and they don't offer out-of-network benefits. Even though they are going to get Medicare covered services still, just like you would in original Medicare, the cost sharing is going to be different because you are working exclusively with a private insurance company. And some plans are going to pay some of that Part B premium. We did walk through that in the fall with you guys during the October training. I went through and gathered up a list of the plans that were providing that as an option and as to how much or what they were doing each month in regards to that. So refer back to that if you'd like to see that chart with more of that. So again, because all of those are correct answers, the answer is D, all of the above. All right, Joe and his wife Susan are both 67 years old and enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan in Maryland, where they reside. They also live in Florida for part of the year. And after their most recent visit to Florida in January, they began receiving bills from the doctor that they saw there for their flu shots. Why are they receiving a bill? The answer to this one is C. They are out of network for their plan. And the reason being is because if they purchased an MA plan in Maryland, typically those covered services are really only going to take place in Maryland, unless there is some sort of extra benefit within the plan that allows you to see providers in different states. You really would have to have your medical expenses taken care of or be seen in the state in which you purchased the plan. And knowing that unless it's an emergency situation, you would be paying out of pocket if you were somewhere else. All right, so again, Joe and his wife Susan, they're just unfortunately out of network with their plans. The answer is C. Now, John was recently diagnosed with throat cancer and he wants to see a specialist in his HMO's network. What would he likely need for the plan to cover it? Would he need an appeal, a coverage determination, step therapy, or a referral from his primary care provider or PCP? The answer is D. He would need a referral from his primary care provider. An appeal is really going to take place if you're appealing a determination or appealing a lack thereof. If somebody's not paying a bill and there's a reason that you feel isn't just, those kinds of things. That would be an appeal. A coverage determination is actually just going to be a letter that gets sent to you with a yes or a no on the coverage option. And step therapy is typically something we see with prescriptions, not necessarily with specialists, especially when there's a situation like throat cancer. So he would need a referral from his primary care provider if he's in an HMO, but he would be able to see the specialist at that point. All right, Frank, he's interested in purchasing a Medicare Advantage plan. And Juanita, the sales agent, describes the type of plans that her company sells, which is not a type of Medicare Advantage plan that she would discuss with him. A health maintenance organization or HMO. B, a preferred provider organization or PPO. C, a Medicare summary notice. Or D, a private fee for service. The answer is C. He would not receive a Medicare summary notice as a type of Medicare Advantage plan because those are items that we have access to quarterly from CMS. That is what you will utilize to review whether there's fraudulent activity or not happening, and to make sure that everything's on the up and up with your care. But the various types of Medicare plan options out there, again, are HMOs, PPOs, private fee for services, and also the SNPs, the C-SNP, the I-SNP, and the D-SNP. All righty. Next question. Some Medicare Advantage plans may require which of the following answers? Beneficiaries to stay within a network of doctors and hospitals. Prior authorization before a visit to a specialist is covered. Prior authorization before receiving certain items or procedures. Or D, all of the answer choices are correct. Because there's no specification as to whether the Medicare Advantage plan is an HMO, PPO, private fee for service, etc., the correct answer for this question is D. All of the answer choices are correct. Again, that's because if it's an HMO, yeah, they would maybe have to stay within their network of doctors and hospitals. They may need a prior authorization before they can see a specialist if they're in an HMO. And they may even need a prior authorization before receiving certain items like DME or procedures, which is all correct. All right, next question, Tabitha. She was in Spain and had a health emergency and required a 5-day hospital stay. She has a Medicare Advantage plan. Her Medicare Advantage plan will do which of the following? Probably not cover any of the costs related to this emergency unless the plan offers foreign travel emergency coverage. The plan may cover 80% of the cost of her hospital stay. It may cover 20% of the cost of her hospital stay, or cover the full cost of her hospital stay. The answer is A, probably not cover any of the costs related to the emergency unless the plan offers foreign travel emergency coverage. And that's really across the board. That's not really a benefit that Medicare has in general, unless you get into certain Medigap policies, and or again, if your MA plan offers that as a benefit. But that is something that once you choose your Medicare Advantage plan, you can look into that information ahead of time and even call the company to find out more on. A member of a Medicare Advantage plan can go outside of a network of providers without paying a bill out of pocket if they see a primary care provider, they see a provider who does not take assignment, they receive emergency services, or they continue to see a therapist that they saw before they joined their Medicare Advantage plan. The answer is C, if they receive emergency services. Again, that answer is the answer it is because it is a broader question. It's not asking specifically about HMOs, PPOs, private fee for services, etc. It's asking in general. If you're going to go outside of a network of providers and you don't have out-of-network coverage, you would really have your coverage or services covered if it's related to an emergency situation. A preferred provider organization or PPO acts as a health maintenance organization in every aspect of provision of care, allows a beneficiary the freedom to visit out-of-network providers, covers fewer brand name drugs than other types of Medicare Advantage plans, or never offers drug coverage. The answer is B, allows a beneficiary the freedom to visit out-of-network providers. Now, Karen would prefer to have all of her medical and prescription drug claims handled by one insurance company. So what's the best option for her? Medigap, standalone prescription drug plan, Medicare Advantage drug plan, or a medical savings account plan? The answer is C, Medicare Advantage drug plan. And again, that's because she's going to receive her Part A hospital coverage, her Part B medical coverage, and her Part D prescription drug coverage, all in one plan. The procedures for prescription drug appeals for PDPs and MAPDs are A, different, B, the same, C, different until the administrative law judge level, then the same, or D, none of the answer choices are correct. The answer is B, the same. They all start with reaching out to the company directly. And from there, if you need to continue to file appeals, you'll continue up the ladder, second, third, fourth, approaching, any judges in court and things like that. So they are the same. Right. Medicare Advantage plans blank original Medicare. Do they supplement, don't cover the same services as, are an alternate coverage to, or enroll more beneficiaries than original Medicare? The answer is C. They are an alternative coverage to original Medicare because you still receive the same services and coverage for Medicare Part A, B, and D, again, with the Medicare Advantage plan, as you would original Medicare. So they are an alternative coverage. Now, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they A, create Medicare Advantage plans, B, enroll people in Medicare for the first time, C, pass laws to change Medicare and Medicaid, or D, approve Medicare Advantage plan contracts. The answer is D, it approves Medicare Advantage plan contracts. The reason being is they don't create the Medicare Advantage plans. Those are created by the private insurance companies, and they gather up their packages and they submit them to CMS for approval. CMS does not enroll people into Medicare for the first time. That's typically through Social Security or the Railroad Retirement Board for railroad retirees. They don't pass laws to change Medicare and Medicaid. That is definitely not something CMS does. But they do approve Medicare Advantage plan contracts. So the answer is D, approves Medicare Advantage plan contracts. Which document identifies why a Medicare Advantage claim was not paid or that services were denied? Is it a coverage determination, an advanced beneficiary notice, an explanation of benefits, or a Medicare summary notice? The answer is C, explanation of benefits. A coverage determination is, again, going to come back with a yes or no as to whether a service or a item is approved or not. An advanced beneficiary notice or an ABN is something you receive actually from the facility that you're receiving care from. That is because they have to walk through what the benefits are for you that they have coverage for in their offices and let you know what's not ahead of time so that you have the choices as to whether you want to continue with the treatment set up the way it is, or if you need to space things out, whatever that may be. And then an explanation of benefits or an EOB, that is going to come directly from the plan. That is going to show you the service codes that were submitted by the doctor's office, the amounts that the plan normally covers, and it's going to tell you as to whether or not a claim was paid or not. If so, or if not, what code reason is it for, all of that. So the explanation of benefits from the insurance company is what's going to tell you what claims were paid or not and what services were denied or not for you to make appeal choices and so forth. So the next question, I'm sorry, let me reiterate. The answer to that last question is C, explanation of benefits. The next question though is a little bit similar, same category area. Under the standard pre-service Medicare Advantage appeal process, plans have a blank time limit to make a redetermination of the initial organization determination. Now, the answer to this one is B as in boy, 30 days. And per CMS, the reason is that once a plan receives the request, it must make its decision and notify the enrollee of its decision as quickly as their health requires, with no later than 72 hours for expedited requests, 30 days for standard requests, and 60 days for payment requests. Because this question is referring to a redetermination standard level, it is a 30-day turnaround timeline. The next question is, Georgia has a Medicare Advantage plan and just received a bill from her doctor that she disagrees with. She believes her plan should have paid for her skin biopsy. Georgia calls her doctor's office and they insist that she must pay the amount in full. She asks the SHIP counselor to help with an appeal. Where is the best place for Georgia to find instructions on how to submit an initial appeal? Is it through SSA.gov, the explanation of benefits or EOB that she receives from her plan, the Medicare summary notice that would be received quarterly, or through the state insurance department website or hotline? The answer is B as in boy, explanation of benefits. Again, that is going to show you what services and claims are paid on and not. And if they're not paid on, they're going to tell you why. It also, on the other side, typically has information on the document about how to do the appeal process. Next question, the first appeal level in Medicare Advantage is what? A, judicial review, B, plan reconsideration, C, independent review entity, or D, administrative law judge. The answer is B as in boy, plan reconsideration. And that is because the first person or first people in the process that get reached out to are the plan providers. So again, an individual's first level appeal would take place with the plan directly as a plan reconsideration. Now, please note that if somebody wants to file a plan reconsideration, it must be filed with the plan within 60 days from the date of notice of the organization's determination. Otherwise, they would need to ask for an extension and have extenuating circumstances, and likely that might not even help. So 60 days, guys. All right, if you discover that a Medicare Advantage plan violated Medicare's marketing guidelines, your SHIP should refer it to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services using the complaint tracking module. So the answer is C. Now, this would take place with your site coordinator. So if you end up having a situation like this, reach out to the site coordinator. We have the CTM forms that we would fill out with your assistance and the beneficiary's assistance. We then would get that up to MAP Inc. in Lansing, and they would then reach out to CMS on the behalf of the beneficiary. So the answer is C, but in real life scenarios, reach out to your SC or the RC if the SC is unavailable, and get that started there. All right, which of the following marketing practices is allowed by Medicare Advantage companies? The answer is C. They can offer a giveaway with a nominal value of less than $15. The next question, Luan has moved across the country and wants to join a Medicare Advantage plan in her new hometown. She's not sure which, if any, plans are available nearby. Which is the best resource to use to determine the plans that are available? Well, we wouldn't reach out to SSA, so it would not be SSA.gov. She could look at Medicare and Use Handbook, but it won't provide her all of the details. And it might make it tricky for her to figure out what region she would be in for those plans. She definitely would want to maybe avoid a sales agent as much as possible so that there's not commissions and maybe potentially shady things happening. Not that all of them are, but sometimes with commissions involved, it can become a little bit of a wonky thing. Or she could D, go to the Medicare Plan Finder on Medicare.gov. So the answer is D as in dog. Now, in choosing between original Medicare and Medicare Advantage, what does a beneficiary not need to take into consideration? Again, what do they not need to take into consideration? they would not need to take into consideration whether or not they want all standard Part A and Part B benefits. Again, the reason being is with an MA plan, you get all of the standard benefits that you would for Medicare Part A and B that had you stayed with original Medicare. You have all of those same benefits. The biggest difference is just that with MA plans, you typically have different cost sharing involved, co-pays, co-insurances, visits to the PCP, cost, etc. So the answer to that is A, whether or not they want all standard Medicare Part A and Part B benefits. So what is one major difference between original Medicare then and Medicare Advantage plans? The answer is A, original Medicare is administered by the federal government, where Medicare Advantage plans are offered by private insurers contracted with Medicare. Because you will have inpatient services covered and outpatient services covered by MA plans. You can have an MA plan that offers Part D, and Part A and Part B doesn't cover in original Medicare, does not cover more inpatient or outpatient services than Medicare Advantage plans do. You get the same benefits. It's an alternative way to receiving your original Medicare benefits. So the answer is A, original Medicare is administered by the federal government. Medicare Advantage plans are offered by private insurance companies that are contracted with Medicare. All right, next question. If a beneficiary has a Medicare Advantage plan, they may need blank in order to see a specialist. The answer is B, they may need a referral from their primary care physician to see a specialist. And again, the reason that this question is B is because there isn't a specification on HMO or PPO, and it's that they just may need to. These are pieces of information that we find the details out on as we look closer at the plans on Medicare.gov, but it's a pretty safe assumption to say they may need a referral, but we can look and see if the plan offers out-of-network benefits first. All right, next question, Part C. Part C does not have to include which? Hospital insurance, coverage for physical therapy, coverage for durable medical equipment, also known as DME, or Part B prescription drug coverage. The answer is D. They do not have to provide Part D prescription drug coverage because there are some that are just the medical aspect. Those are typically the private fee-for-services utilized by individuals who have creditable drug coverage that don't need to worry about that. All right, next question. Medicare Advantage is also known as A, Medigap, B, Part C, C, Medicare Supplemental Insurance, or D, Medicare Part G. The answer is Part C. B as in boy, Medicare Part C. Medicare Supplemental Insurance is another way of saying Medigap. And Part G is a way to trip you up and make you think, oh, it says part instead of plan. So that's the one. It's definitely Part C. When reviewing a Medicare Advantage plan with a beneficiary, you should only take into account the cost of the monthly premium, true or false. The answer is false. You look at things aside from monthly premiums, and oftentimes several options out there are zero monthly premiums. So what we're looking at is drug coverage and facilities that the plan can be utilized at, and the cost of the visits, co-pays, co-insurances, maximum out-of-pockets, and more. So the answer would be B as in boy, false. All right, a beneficiary is required to choose a Medicare Advantage plan. A, yes, B, no, or C, sometimes. While the answer technically is that some people may choose to and some people may not, it doesn't mean that sometimes is the answer, because it's not a requirement. It is an option. So the answer would be no. B as in boy, no. As a MAP counselor, the resource that you use most often to review Medicare Advantage plans is what? D as in dog, Medicare.gov's Plan Finder. All right, so the next few, I'm going to just read off the definitions to you, so then that way we can make sure we've got them lined up correctly. When you do your test, you will have to match the definition to the keyword. And I will advise you that it is definitely easiest to do so if you click the drop-down menu where you can choose your definition, because there's usually only about 4 words at the beginning of it. You do have to drop down the box if you'd like to see the full answer. All right, so first keyword, premium. That definition is the very last definition in the boxes, and it is the amount that a beneficiary pays for their health insurance every month. Deductible is the very first definition in the list. That is the amount of money a beneficiary must pay before the insurance company will pay a claim. Then you've got copayment. That is the second answer, a set payment amount owed by a beneficiary in addition to what the insurer pays. And lastly, maximum out-of-pocket or MOOP limit. And that answer is the third definition down. It is the most that a beneficiary will have to pay for covered services in a plan year. Once a max out-of-pocket has been met, just a side note, the plan will typically pick up the approved services at 100%. Right, last 3 questions. The first one, if a beneficiary purchases a Medicare Advantage plan, they can also purchase Medigap coverage as a supplement. True or false? The answer is B, false. They would have no need for a Medigap supplement plan. They would have a Medicare Advantage. It's going to offer them all of the same coverage. There will be set copays, coinsurances, so the cost sharing is different. But there'd be no sense in paying an extra premium to have supplemental insurance that won't coordinate, because they won't. It is very rare to see a Medigap policy really with anything other than original Medicare. So yeah. Second to the last question, how is foreign travel covered by most Medicare Advantage plans? The answer is C, as in cat. Generally, there is no coverage. Some plans may choose to offer emergency care outside the US, but it is generally not something that is covered, so it's pretty safe to assume that most don't. However, if that is something that the beneficiary is interested in, we certainly can look into that. We would do so by looking on Medicare.gov, and if it's not mentioned there, going to the plan's website, navigating it, finding it there, or advising them to contact the plan directly to get that information. All right, last question. Barb is enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. She comes to you as a MAP counselor with concerns about bills that she has been receiving. Barb states that she's getting billed for tests that she never received. What should Barb do? Barb should B, call 1-800-MEDICARE to report the suspicious activity because it may be Medicare fraud. That is the best answer technically for that question. However, part of our MAP role is S&P. We are senior Medicare patrollees. We are able to assist with fraud and abuse situations and cases. So if we encounter this in the real world while counseling, what you would do is you would reach out to your site coordinator, and together we would work with the client, and we would work with our S&P director, Rati, out in MAP Inc., and get things reported to the OIG, get it reported to Medicare, and make sure that this fraudulent activity stops. All right, that's it for the questions. If you have any questions on anything we discussed, let me know. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm available via email, telephone, whatever is easiest for you. And please note that you will have to walk through all of the individual items within Docebo for the recertification tab at Marked Complete. So you do have to complete the DEI training first. I know that it can be a lot, but it is very important that we do it each year. It's a very important reminder so that we can really work on ridding any subconscious, unconscious biases that we have, and to really help stop the systemic issues that we have in our country, and really be able to fully assist our clients the way that we really should be. It's also something that is not designated by MAP Inc. It is designated by part of our funders, so it's really not an optional thing. So you will have to do your DEI module first. Then if you were not able to attend MAP Inc.'s training that they held at the beginning of April for their webinar, then you will have to watch that webinar in full. It will have to play out completely, and then you'll have access to the test. Again, these questions will be shuffled at random along with their answers. So make sure you're doing double duty to double check. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.